Hi again. Continuing the series on essential skills, and we can really consider cooking an essential skill. After all, we have to eat. And the thing about cooking for yourself is that you can control your nutrition, and it also can be a lot cheaper than some of the alternatives. I'm always surprised by people who on a low income who eat takeaways, which is a big problem because the towns are infested with people on bikes delivering food here, there, and everywhere, riding on the pavements. But eating fast food to me is a no-no. It may be fast, but it's not food. Whereas if you cook proper nutritious meals, you can control what's in them. So the book that really introduced me to cooking is this one, many years ago. It's Len Deighton's Action Cookbook. And it came from his cook strips in the Observer newspaper. He used to do a cook strip. That's what he was first known for before he started writing the spy stories. And he drew them himself, and they were very simply explained ways of cooking various things. And he put them all together in this book basically for the guy who's living on his own, and he wants to be able to cook. And it doesn't presuppose any knowledge whatsoever. So it really starts with basics. And most of the dishes in it are pretty simple. It is of its time, like it has a recipe for curry as though it's a very exotic meal, and then explains what vindaloo is and so on, because in the 60s it wasn't as popular a dish as it is now. But that apart, it's certainly a good starter book. However, there are many more books out there, and cookbooks are one of the biggest shares of the market in bookshops. So you can find a cookbook to really give you the basics if that's what you need. Then another form of eating which I really enjoy is the braai, the South African barbecue. I was introduced to that when I first went over there, 1975, and I've enjoyed it ever since. And I have my own braai, and in the summer, if we have a summer, I will always be found making a braai. Over there, when I first went, it was a big social event, particularly on Sundays, because back then most of South Africa closed on Sundays. There was the first few years I was in South Africa, they didn't have television, and it's a very religious country. And on a Sunday, once you'd read the paper, which had very little in it, there was nothing else to do. You'd go for a walk or something. So social events like a braai was very important, particularly within the martial arts community I was in. So all the ladies would make salads and desserts, and the guys would look after the meat, and that was the way. And it was very nice, big family affair. And South Africa has very cheap but very high grade meat, including things like venison, which you don't tend to get much over here. When it was just the guys, when we were training, it was a different matter. At the unit, for example, the braai was, the base of it was the fuel drum from the helicopter cut in half, with the grill was the riot grill from an Inyala vehicle, a riot vehicle, on top. So that was very basic, but it worked. I remember once we were doing room combat training, and we'd gone out to a very remote area where there's some buildings we could use. And the colonel asked me what time lunch was, and I said, well, you know, flexible sort of thing. He said, just give me an hour's notice then. And in his backy, his pickup truck, he had a fold-down braai, and he said, because I want to start the braai. So when he started the braai, and we were still doing drills and stuff, and the smell of the meat was fantastic in the open. It's a memory that'll last with me forever. Another time we were training at a Sekerbos range outside Heidelberg in the Transvaal, and we being just guys, instead of plates we were using bits cut off targets, cardboard targets, and instead of knives and forks we were using our Leatherman tools. But nevertheless it was fantastic. We were standing there, and down in the valley there were wildebeers and impala running around, and it was just a fantastic experience. So the book that I've put at the intro to this on the braai, there's many books on braai, this is a good one. Particularly he really goes into how to cook the perfect steak, and if you follow the instructions you will enjoy a real experience. I would also mention that you can get the different marinades and sauces in the UK and in many other countries for the original South African experience. And then another form of cooking I was introduced to in Georgia by Megan, and this is what they call the crock pot, what's over here is called a slow cooker. And she would give us the most delicious meals. She was a fantastic cook. But when she explained how it was done, it was really simple. And so when I came home after that first trip, I bought a slow cooker. They're not very expensive, and learned how to use it. And one of the things you can do, you can use it in conjunction with a braai. So I like breast of lamb. Get breast of lamb from the market, from the good butchers. Put it in the slow cooker with some sliced up onion, just to give some moisture, and you leave it, and then for several hours, say 5 hours, 6 hours, when you take it out, you just put it on the braai for a couple of minutes each side, and you get perfectly cooked but still get that braai flavour. But then the other thing you can do with the slow cooker is you can make stews and soups. And I've had friends who say, oh, I didn't really have time to make a dinner, you know, I was working and I just came home, so I got a takeaway. But if you just get the ingredients, which can be very, very inexpensive, you can get the cheapest stewing steak, for example, carrots, onions, potatoes, corn, put it all in the crock pot, leave it. When you come home from work, as you open the front door, you get the smell of a delicious meal, and you've got a very nutritious stew. You can also make soups and things like that. So that's just some of the ideas on cooking and the books that will help you to do it. Bon appetit.